This is the plaintiff, Jeff. He says he rented a room in the defendant's house for a short time because living there was like living in a house of horrors. The woman was passed out in her bed while her 5-year-old was left outside unsupervised. He called Child Protective Services, and now the defendant's withholding his security out of spite. He needs the court's help today and is suing the woman for the $800 he's owed. This is the defendant, Kimberly. She says the plaintiff's a troublemaker who reported her for being an unfit mother. The case was dismissed, but it was a horrible ordeal to go through, and the plaintiff falsely reported her because he's a nasty, nasty human being. Owe him money? No way. She's the one who's owed. She's accused of lousy landlording. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $5,000 for defamation of character and pain and suffering.
All parties, please raise your right hand. You see to come to order, please. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay. Neither of you would like your last names mentioned, so we'll respect that. Jeff, you're suing Kimberly for $800 of a security deposit that you say she is falsely holding on to. You are suing him for $5,000 for defamation of character and pain and suffering. Tell me what happened.
So I moved in from a listing I found on Craigslist, and then I paid the deposit, paid rent, and when I decided to move out, I gave it 30 days notice.
How long did you live there?
I lived there for probably like 3 months, I'd say.
Did you have a lease?
We didn't.
Okay.
So when I moved out, I gave it 30 days notice, and then when that 30 days came up, we tried to figure out a way to meet up and try to exchange the keys and exchange for the deposit. And she kept on texting me that she was going to do it. She had cash, this and that, and then it never happened. And so then I just went to a small claims court and just put the paperwork in because I knew she was just stalling and stalling and stalling. So.
Okay, and why was it that you were moving out of there?
Because it was extremely uncomfortable. Just living with her son, and I didn't feel like it was just, I didn't want to put in a weird situation because there were times I'd wake up, she wasn't there, it was just the sun, she ran out, or the reason I moved out even before the 30 days, like I gave her 30 days and I moved out before that was because I showed up one day and it was like, I don't know, like 8, 9 o'clock at night. Sun was downstairs, it was raining outside with the dog, was knocking, our other roommate that was there.
Hold on a second.
So this older gentleman that the son called with the cell phone was there, couldn't get into the apartment. We let him in, and then she was in her bed, like just out, and the son was just sitting there, like yelling. And so we had to talk to him, and I was like, I can't live anymore. So that's why I said, I'm moving out.
Okay, I'm sorry. That happened when?
May 21st it happened.
And you moved out in June, a month later?
Correct.
Okay. And she was passed out, and the child was outside, and the child was how old?
I don't even know. Like, I don't, a young.
How old's your child?
He's 7 years old.
7, okay. And that's why you moved out?
Yeah, I just didn't feel comfortable living with her, and I didn't feel like she had a job to kind of, if we were gonna lose one roommate, and if he left, I was afraid that, well, if she can't find someone, like, am I gonna be evicted? And she's like, no, don't worry about it. New York landlords are pretty understanding, especially if you have a kid.
The courts are pretty pro-tenant.
So
Maybe that's what she meant.
I found another place.
So why is it that he says that you're keeping a security deposit? Why is it that you're keeping the security deposit?
Okay, so I'm a single mother, and I just moved back from abroad this year.
Where abroad? Where?
I was living in Cape Town, South Africa, and that's where my son was born. He's now 7. So I rented my first apartment in New York, the 1st of March. Jeff applied through Craigslist to come, and live with us. And, I agreed to allow him to move in. He paid his deposit with a specific understanding he was planning to stay long term.
Well, that specific understanding is not legally binding unless you have a lease. Otherwise, it's just a month-to-month by operation of law. Did you sign a lease?
No, we didn't.
Then he can give you 30 days and leave whenever he feels like it.
Yeah.
Unless you have something in writing that says otherwise. All right, so go ahead.
So he gave me 30 days notice. I said I would pay him back, but I had told him specifically I was waiting on the next person to move in before I could pay him back his money.
Well, you're not supposed to spend the security deposit. You know that, right? But you did.
Yeah.
And you can't hold them to staying there and giving you more than 30 days notice, but you did.
Yeah.
And then, and then what happened?
Okay. Jeff started harassing me. So, I started to receive text messages, lots of nasty stuff. He had told me multiple times if I didn't pay him, he was not going to play nice. He
Show
was
me
going
the
to play
text
dirty.
messages.
Well, actually, I don't have any text messages.
I do.
Why don't you?
Before I knew this case was going to happen, I deleted my text messages. I didn't want that stuff hanging around.
Okay, you can always get that from your carrier, though, just so you know.
Oh, really? No, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
All right.
I figured he'd have them if he...
All right, he happens to. May 20th, but I want to make sure he's not deleting something and showing me what he feels like showing me. That's why I always ask both sides.
Okay.
Morning, Jeff. My apologies for last night. I'm horrified myself. I'm making changes so that can never happen again. I'm under great stress at the moment. Call me if you want to or see you later. What is that about? That's
He
May
mentioned a
22nd,
specific
is that-
evening when I was exhausted and I was, tired. And there was a friend of mine. He was with my son, and my son had forgotten to take the keys when he walked out. So, there were people knocking at the door and trying to get in. And
Who was knocking at the door?
a friend of mine named Wimfield who was knocking on the door, and my
your child?
son and my son.
But had Winfield been with your child the entire time?
Not the entire time, but he had come.
He had come
He
because
was
your child
planning
had
to come.
called him?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
so
by the way,
what happened? What happened to you? You were exhausted and you passed out, or you were?
I was exhausted, and I had a sleeping pill that I had planned that I was going to get a really good night's rest that night.
Okay,
So,
except for that your child was still outside. How did your child get outside?
so I would like to just say one thing.
Can you tell
that
me how your child got outside?
He was walking the dog.
The 7-year-old was?
Yeah.
Where do you
Took him
live that
just
you feel
out-
comfortable doing that at 7? That's kind of young. I don't know. I guess it kind of
So,
depends on where you live. Where do you live?
Excuse me. Can I
Where
just
do you live? Manhattan?
Manhattan.
And your 7-year-old was walking the dog alone? I don't think that's a good idea. In any event, that happens May 22nd. He moves out June what?
Okay. So as I said, this case was already heard with ACS.
What case?
He called ACS about this specific incident, and what I'm trying to explain to you is that this is not fair for the court to be going back and judging me because it's double jeopardy. It's already been seen by
I'm sorry.
ACS.
Hold on. What is the point of your $5,000 lawsuit? You're
That
suing
he
him
phoned. He called ACS. He made a
Right.
complaint.
I have to go into it because you filed a counterclaim.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to embarrass you. Do you want to drop your counterclaim or you want to push forward? Because that's the reason why we're going through this. You understand?
The plaintiff says he moved out of the defendant's apartment after he saw the defendant passed out in her bed and her 5-year-old running around outside unsupervised. He called Child Protective Services and she's pissed. Let's listen.
Listen to me. I know it's embarrassing, but do you understand why I asked you these questions? You have a $5,000 lawsuit for defamation because you feel he maliciously called ACS on you.
Yeah.
And so we're getting into that. That's why I'm asking you these questions, because of your lawsuit, not because I'm a mean person.
Not my lawsuit, by the way.
Your counterclaim is, did you file a counterclaim?
The counterclaim is mine.
Right.
Thank you.
So do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So do you understand why I'm asking you the questions?
I believe that if a case was already tried, basically, tried, that it
The case wasn't tried.
Details
what
would
happened
not
is he calls
be-
ACS. When do you call ACS? The Child Protective Services.
He called
What does
ACS,
ACS stand for?
Administration of Children's Services.
Administration of Children's
So-
Services. Is it true that you called them?
I did.
And you decided to call them when? After you state in a text to her that it's, the exact phrase isn't, it's going to get ugly. It's something else. What was the exact phrase?
Right.
What was the exact phrase? Do you remember or no?
I have no clue.
He did it when he said when
I moved
I was
out.
not going to pay, and when I was
What's
not
the
gonna pay
date of
him.
the text that
It was
I'm
a
looking?
threat. It was.
I know. I'm just going to read the text.
extortion.
What's the date of
Around
the
June 23rd?
June 23rd. There we go.
June 25th, actually,
June 25th. Okay. How do you know it was June 25th?
because ACS turned up on the same day.
Okay. Yeah, like I predicted, that full text isn't there. Why isn't that full text there?
Because I didn't put it in there.
Of course.
Because I'm not going to accuse
You hurt
myself.
yourself in a case. You're just
Yeah.
going to try to
You're not gonna
mislead
tell
me
the
into
truth.
thinking that,
No.
in fact, you have everything in here for me to look at when you just picked and chose what you wanted to put in here. That's how you play?
No.
Let me ask you a question. Why do you call ACS?
Because I felt in previous experiences working in social work that I wasn't going to call when I'm living there. That's the thing. I did
Why
not.
not?
Want, because I just didn't feel comfortable. I want to get out of the house.
Why not?
And then, because I just didn't feel comfortable. I just didn't want to.
Either the child's in danger or the child's
Right.
not in danger, right? Why is it that you call ACS after she tells you to stop calling her, she's not giving you your money back?
Because I was probably being vindictive.
Yeah. That's precisely right. You were
Right.
being vindictive. Hence the lawsuit on her part for defamation of character, because she thinks that you must have said a hell of a lot more to ACS than one day, a month ago, she fell asleep or passed out or was drunk or whatever, and I saw her son on the stoop with an adult. You had to have said more to ACS if they opened up an investigation. How long did the investigation take?
60 days.
And then it was unfounded or founded?
Unfounded.
Right. So let me see if I've got this straight. Over $600, you brought Child Protective Services into a family's life where you didn't think it was important to bring it up a month earlier when the so-called event had actually happened.
Correct.
What kind of jerk are you that you would do something like that to her and or a child? Why don't you just do like the rest of us have to do and just go to court and sue for your money? And what do you think I'm going to do now?
Welcome back to the People's Court. Harvey Levin here. So, do all parents kind of make mistakes from time to time when it comes to watching their kids?
I say yes, because kids will be kids and you can't be there.
Well, kids will be kids, but parents are responsible for watching them.
Yes, they definitely are responsible for their kids.
But do they make, I mean, is a good parent a parent who never makes a mistake?
No, everybody makes mistakes from time to time.
What makes a good parent is you have to make mistakes in order to learn from them. And parents, they'll...
So if you make a mistake, it's not like you're Dina Lohan or anything, right? Okay, going inside the courtroom.
Do you understand the strain that it puts on a family to go through being investigated like that? And you did it like it's some little sword for you to play with?
I didn't tell him more. I didn't tell him more.
And according to you, it didn't even end there, did it?
It didn't end there.
Because according to you, you lost your job. Tell me how you lost your job.
Mid-October, there was a letter that was received by my employer, and my boss called me and he said, listen, I'm really unhappy about this, but your personal life is getting into mine. And he didn't say anything more than that at that time, but the thing is that right now, that campaign is no longer.
I understand. Were you fired or weren't you?
I wasn't. I was a contractor.
So you were not
I was not
rehired? The
rehired.
time for you to be rehired has already passed?
Yeah.
And you were not rehired?
I was
or
not
now's
rehired.
the time for you to be rehired?
Now is the time.
So you don't know if you're going to be rehired?
I don't think so because I would
What
have
was the
been.
letter that you got? This?
Yeah.
Dear Mr. Blank, from articles on the internet, I see you have some affiliation with Ms. And it has your last name. I would strongly advise you to complete thorough background checks on you prior to furthering the relationship. Look for civil actions in the New York State court system, increasingly demanding behavior, particularly around money, increased sexually enticing behavior in an attempt to lure you in, deceit and lies. I hope I am wrong, but do your due diligence. Yours truly, and then there's nobody signing that. Did you send this letter?
Did I send? No, I have no idea what that even is.
Did he ever come on to you?
No.
No.
Do you have other enemies?
Not that I know of.
Okay, I'm putting this to a side. You don't even know if you're going to get picked up or not get picked up. You didn't really actually lose your job over it, and you can't really prove that it's him, although we do know that he has a vindictive streak that he proudly admitted to in here. I am, however, going to look at your defamation of character case. The $800 in security deposit you have kept for no other reason other than the fact that you thought he'd be around and you didn't have the money to pay him.
I told him that.
Are there any damages to the apartment?
No, there were none.
Did he give you 30 days notice?
Yes, he did.
Okay, then you don't have a right to keep the $800.
$800, and I was planning to pay.
Well, I'm going to find in your favor in the amount of the security deposit of $800. But before you get too happy, I'm going to find in her favor in the lawsuit against you for manipulating the system for your own benefit, because I find that to be unforgivable. I am finding in your favor in the defamation case in the amount of $3,000, minus the $800 in security deposit that you owe him is a net judgment in your favor in the amount of $2,200. Pay the lady.
So the defendant does collect quite a bit on defamation of character. How embarrassed are you about your actions?
Not really. I mean,
Calling?
she did what she did, and
That phone call to the Child Administrative
legit,
Services?
yeah.
You would do that again?
yeah, I would. I would have made it sooner, though.
All right, okay.
All right, sir.
All right, come on in here. Are you satisfied how this case comes out?
I'm satisfied. You know, there are lines people should never cross.
How tough has this been for you to go through this whole thing?
It's cost me like basically my livelihood and my well-being for months and months and months.
You have it? Are you getting it back together?
I'm hoping soon.
Harvey?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of states actually give you immunity if you call children's services on somebody because they want to encourage people to do it without fear. And the only time you can be sued is if it's malicious, if the call is purely malicious. In this case, it was malicious, and that's why the defendant won the countersuit. And that will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.